Hi, this is Chris Ball from Mashpee TV with another Mashpee update. With me today is Kathleen Fox Alfano. She is the Democratic candidate for the 3rd Barnstable District for state rep this year. Kathy, thanks so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Chris. I really appreciate it, and thanks to all the viewers. I really appreciate your listening about all the things we have to say about what we can do for Mashpee.
Okay, and being as this is Mashpee,
Yes,
I like to hone in on things with Mashpee, but
for sure.
Kathy, I'm going to let you take it over for a little bit here and tell us about yourself, who you are, your experience, where you live,
Sure.
your family, and then, let's get into what you think is important, what concerns us as Mashpee as a town, as Cape Cod as a region, because, I know you live in Bourne,
Right.
and you've done a lot of different things through the Cape.
Definitely. So yes, I'm Kathleen Fox Alfano, and I live in Bourne. I have had extensive experience professionally. I've worked with major companies. I've worked with CBS News, where I worked with Dan Rather and the guys from 60 Minutes. So I definitely learned about communications through them and how to deal with very important people. I also worked with Polaroid, where I did camera packaging, and there I established and ran a multinational interdepartmental cost savings team. And I managed to save the company $6 million a year, which was a huge thing at the time. And so I want to use my expertise with both communications and with how to save money to help the people of Mashpee and of Massachusetts. So I've also owned several small businesses. I've been a realtor for 20 years. I've owned an art publishing company. I've owned a home flipping, renovation company. And so I have a pretty broad experience of real world experience. And I want to bring that all together to working with the state. I've also started 2 community theaters in my day. So I have a really interesting background. And it all comes together to make me a really formidable candidate. So,
How's that all come together to do that?
well, for instance, theater. You're taking the people who do this the best, that the best, and bring it all together to put on a show, in this case, to put together a platform and to reach out to the people and work with this within the state, all the different people within the state, bring it all together to do good things for our town.
Okay, Kathy, what organizations, political, non-political, have you affiliated with yourself? I didn't hear you mention too much about that, and I know you have.
I have.
Looking at your website.
Yes, yes. I've been a library trustee for decades. That's my elected office because trustees are elected. But I'm on the Bourne's Housing, the Affordable Housing Trust. I'm a trustee of the Historic Society. And I've been, I have the Bourne Cultural Council, Community Engagement Committee, and I have my own television show on Bourne TV called Upper Cape Spotlight, where I'm the host and producer. So I have a really broad background.
How long have you lived in Bourne?
I've lived in there since 2018, but I've owned on the Cape for decades, but with summer houses. And basically my husband's job changed that so he could work from home, and that's when we moved here.
Great.
So, yeah.
All right, so I know of a few issues that are facing Mashpee,
Yes.
big issues,
Yes.
and there's different ways to address them and stuff. But I want to hear your take on what you think those issues are.
Sure. To me, we are already working now with the DEP regulations on solving the nitrogen problems in the estuaries on coastal waters. We've already got regulations now. However, what concerns me is that the DEP and others in power knew about these problems going back to the 1990s, and they didn't do anything. So the problem has just gotten more expensive and, frankly, much worse. If we had started back then, we wouldn't have the problems we have today. So to me, those organizations should also be paying into the problem. We shouldn't have to rely on the taxpayer, the homeowner, to shoulder the burden on all of this. So whether it be sewering or using some of the other alternative methods, and there's more and more coming down the pike of different ways we can solve the nitrogen problem. But I know Mashpee has chosen sewering as their initial thing, which is great. That will solve the problem to a degree in certain areas. But I don't think that the Mashpee people should have to pay 100% of that. I think we need to get federal funding and more state funding, not just loans, to take care of that.
Well, Mashpee, like as you have said, had a plan in place.
Yes.
The funding was slow, things were slow, and we're now catching up
Right.
to speed.
Right.
And I mean, to me, we're only into phase one. And
Of many phases.
In phase one, I'm in phase one at my house, so
Okay.
I'm pretty up on what's going on
Right.
there.
Right.
And we're going to be lucky to have that up and running by June of this year, by the time they get everything put together. And I know that we're working on other things, our
Sure.
shellfish agricultural
Yep.
and et cetera.
Yep.
And it's going to be an ongoing process, and it's not going to be something that it's going to get solved quickly.
No.
But clean water, in my eyes, is the number one thing.
Definitely, definitely. I call myself the clean water candidate because I'm not just interested in the coastal waters, but also the ponds and rivers, because there the DEP regulations have not come into effect. They've been ignored. And the ponds all have different reasons for their pollution. Yes, it's nitrogen, also phosphorus, which comes from the septic systems. There's also fertilizer that people put on their lawns. People like to have a nice green lawn. Well, that's got to go, because that is definitely just feeding right into the ponds and causing the cyanobacteria and algae blooms, which, as everyone knows, is environmentally disastrous, but also you can't use the ponds for things that you want to, like swimming. Not even your dog can go in. So, and it looks awful. It smells awful. It's taking away from the beauty, the reasons that we moved to the Cape, and we have to address that. I am working with the Save the Mashpee Wakeby Pond Coalition and other coalitions in Falmouth. Also, the Cape Cod Commission has a freshwater initiative, so people are starting to pay attention to this. I would like to take it a step further and establish a clean water caucus at the State House to bring together all of the legislators who have problems with their ponds and rivers, which is a lot of people, because, you watch the news in the summertime, 88 beaches are closed this weekend. It's ridiculous. That shouldn't be happening. So I want to work with those people to really shine a spotlight on the pond freshwater issues and do more research, find effective, efficient solutions, and solve this problem. So that's one of the main things that I want to do.
How about housing? That's like number 2 on my
That's
list.
number 2, yes.
I don't know where it stands on your list.
Right. Oh, yeah. Well, it's a close second, because as I said, I've been a realtor for about 2 decades now. I've seen lots of changes within the housing market. I'm on the Affordable Housing Trust, and I'm a big believer in the housing bill that just got passed, the governor signed, which does some wonderful things. We have to make sure that our towns take advantage of all the funding that's available, the changing in zoning and that sort of thing, the fact that everyone now can do ADUs by right. And I think one of the biggest things for Mashpee is the seasonal communities designation, which allows the state to pay landlords the difference between the magic 10 weeks of the summer when they rent out to tourists and renting out as a year-round residence. There's a difference in price there. They actually get more for the summer than they would for the year-round. But this will pay them the difference to give them an incentive to go back to year-round rentals, because we definitely need them. I have talked to so many people who used to rent year-round, and because they can't afford to buy a home, and they got tossed out of their houses because the landlord wants to get more money for them. So, and that's a lot of people So if we can bring that back, we can help our workforce, our seniors, and that's immediate. We can start that this fall, and we should. We should, make sure that people are educated about the availability of this and and get going on it, because that would help us, like I said, right away. So I really am glad that they passed that housing bill, and there are many different tools in the toolkit, so to speak, for us. I believe that we need to continue to build affordable, not necessarily what we call affordable housing, but the middle. We're missing the middle. We're missing houses where people who have an average job, who make less than $100,000, might be able to afford. Because right now, I think you need to make something like $200,000 just to afford the median house in this area, which is crazy, just crazy. So I definitely want to develop housing that meets the middle, which is the workforce, veterans, and seniors. And also, if we build more senior housing, they leave their bigger houses for the families and move into a smaller or more accessible housing, but can stay here. The other thing with ADUs is sometimes seniors will move into the ADU.
Could you define ADU?
Oh, accessory dwelling unit.
Okay,
Thank you. You used to be able to call them in-law, but now it's expanded, so it's not just a room, a separate room with its own entrance. It can be a different unit, separate from the house, but it's smaller. It's usually different towns have different regulations, but it's usually no more than 2-bedroom or 900 square feet. So the seniors can move into that and then rent out the bigger home to a family. So that's another way they can stay in their communities and continue to live in, stay in place. So I think that's another really good way to go about this.
Thanks for explaining that.
Yeah.
First time I've heard it.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So, yes, there's many different ways to cut this. And I also, I love like the Clare Village. I think that's just fabulous. And
Mary's on our board here.
yes, Mary's fabulous. And I just had lunch with her, and she's quite a dynamo.
Mary lived across the street from me for 50 years.
Oh, well then, how lucky for you and for her. But yes, so that's the kind of thing I would like to see more and more of. I think we could build on town land that's already disturbed. I don't want to go on to land that we are trying to preserve for forest or for the environment. But there's plenty of land out there, and also repurposing buildings that are no longer useful as they are. We can turn them into nice housing. I want to keep the housing. There's something called form-based code, which basically insists that the housing fit the neighborhood, fit the character of the Cape. So we don't want big tall apartment buildings. They don't fit here, but we do like the cluster zoning and the charm of the Cape. We want to maintain that, definitely.
Great, good,
Sure.
good point.
Yes.
What else do you have on your list?
Well, the other thing that is important to me is women's rights. Of course, as a woman, I don't want my grandchild to have less rights than I did growing up. I think that a woman should have, be able to control what happens to her body. I also, on the other hand, want to help women who want to have children, because if you say you work and you have mass health, right, which a lot of people have mass health as their health care, you have to pay twice your deductible when you're having a child. You pay a deductible for your prenatal care and then also for the delivery. So you can wind up with a baby and a bill for $10,000. So that's not cool. We have to work on something like that. And we have to make sure that maternal care is accessible to all, that good maternal care is accessible to all. And we have spotty here on the Cape. They closed the maternal wing at Falmouth Hospital, so now you have to go to Cape Cod, which is kind of far for some people. So I think we need to definitely work on that. Also, of course, veterans' rights are important. The Cape has the highest number of veterans in the state, and we need to make sure that their rights are preserved and their health care. Again, same problem. A lot of the, the VAs and whatever are elsewhere. They're not here. So people have to travel a great distance just to get health care, and that's wrong. We should bring things here. We also have opportunities at the base, the Joint Base. Maura Healey has told them to, as I call it, cough up land for housing, and I really feel that that housing should, first of all, be for veterans, but also for workforce and for seniors. And I want to keep a really close tabs on what's going on there. It will take time. Everything takes time. But I think that's another golden opportunity to, the base is bigger than most villages here, most towns. It's huge.
There's a lot of land
and
out
there's
there.
a lot of land. So that's something we want to definitely be, 100% on top of. The other thing that, speaking of what's happening and what's really going to shine a spotlight on the Upper Cape is the new bridges. And I'm from Bourne, so I really am concerned about the bridges, not just the design themselves of the bridges, but the local access roads. Because right now, they have 3 out of the 4 entrance exits are designed to be flyovers, which should eliminate traffic. The 4th is the Bourne South, which is the famous Rotary. And they want to eliminate the Rotary, but at first, this is no joke, their first design had a stoplight. Yep, a stoplight. So I said...
Where the Rotary was?
Yeah. So I said, well, yes, you would go right to Trowbridge Road or down MacArthur Boulevard, but to take a left, which is what the majority of the people do because they're going to Route 6, to a 1-lane highway, which is also a problem, a traffic light. So I said, well, the traffic will be backed up to Middleborough, it's just crazy. So now their latest suggestion is to do 3 little roundabouts, which are basically small rotaries. And I don't think that's going to work either. So I think we need to take a much more innovative look at how we're going to do that. If it was up to me, we would do a flyover there and we would connect right to Route 6 and bypass Sandwich Road and keep that a local road, which would also give the Upper Cape Tech School a second entrance, because right now they have a windy entrance up the hill, and it's very dangerous for kids coming in and out of the school there. So it would do 2 things, and so that's another thing as a state rep that I think I can really tackle. And it would make the whole nightmare of the traffic less, it would lessen it over time. And that's a multi-generational thing. It would last us, for 100 years or whatever. So those are important things that we need to address. I also, let's see, the other thing that I would do differently than my opponent is I want to hold regular office hours in each town. That's not happening now. So to me, the name of the job is state representative. You represent the people. So if you don't talk to the people, if you don't, you're not available to easily hear their concerns, not just they have to call you or set up an appointment, which you may or may not attend. I want to be there for people and listen to everybody, not just the big time people, but, the man on the street. I want to talk to everybody and listen to what their concerns are, because sometimes, somebody has an idea that nobody else thought of and it'll work, so that's very important to me.
That being said,
Yes.
what towns does the 3rd district encompass?
Okay, so it starts at the Bourne Bridge South, the one that I was just talking about, and it goes basically down to North Falmouth, includes North Falmouth. It goes across 151 to Hatchville, East Falmouth, and all of Mashpee.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. It is complicated. We won't get into why, but it's basically they divide the districts by population, so it's about 40,000 or so in each district. So that's why. One of the other things is my logo is the bridge, and it's because of the bridge, but it's also because I want to be a bridge. I want to be a bridge to connect people, connect ideas. One of the things that I want to do is connect select boards. I was at One Cape last week, and I was sitting with a member of the Mashpee Select Board and introduced her to a member of the Bourne Select Board, and then somebody from Falmouth Select Board came, and none of them knew each other. I'm like, you don't know each other? So yeah, why are they operating in silos? We are a region, we share a lot of the same issues, we should be able to talk. And there are many issues we share. So I want to definitely become the bridge and bring people together. The other thing that I want to do, going back to climate, is we have such an opportunity here on the Upper Cape because we have all of the different waterways. We have ocean, we have bays, we have estuaries, ponds, we have a tidal canal. I want to start a climate tech center, which dovetails right in with what the governor and the state want to do, is to make climate tech the next life science industry in Massachusetts. And we can do it so well right here because, like I said, we have all of the different components. We've got the waterways, we've got the wind energy, and we have a wonderful marine knowledge base here already. I want to have a center that brings innovative existing companies and startups together to work on all these different solutions because we have to solve the climate crisis. I mean, there's no way around it. Not just the whole nitrogen problem, but coastal resilience. That is a huge problem here. We are so vulnerable, not just because of our proximity to the waters, but also our geography. The way that Cape was formed, we're all basically sand. So we are very vulnerable to climate change and to any kind of hurricane or whatever. So we need to learn from the experts, collaborate with people who are already starting to do this, to try to do the most we can to solve our coastal resilience.
Agreed.
Yeah, I know, it's a problem.
Kathy, we're coming to about the end of our time here.
Sure.
We got
Okay, let me
a few
just
more minutes.
Okay.
So
Right.
if you want to
let me tell
give
you
me some last thoughts.
Sure.
And I'd like you to also, before we wrap it up, give us some contact information, websites,
Sure.
that sort of thing.
Okay. Good government is a team sport. There's no way around it. To get things done, to bring things to Mashpee, you need to reach out. I have both U.S. senators, I have the governor and lieutenant governor, the AG, the state auditor, the 3 county commissioners, the majority of the select board. We are all rowing on the same team. I'm going to be able to bring more funding, more good policies to benefit our town, our region. And that's why I'm running. If you want to get involved or learn more, my website is kfaforstaterep.com. And I really appreciate your vote on or before November 5th. Yes, we're on the presidential ballot, so there's no reason not to vote. There's so many ways to vote now between mail-in ballots, early voting, and voting on the day. And I would love to be honored to have your vote and put me to work for Mashpee and for the Upper Cape. Thanks so much.
Kathy, that was great.
Thank you.
A lot of good information. Thanks for being here today.
Thank
and
you.
As you said, everybody, let's get out and vote.
Right.
Mail in, early voting.
There's no excuse anymore.
No, you got. There's no way you can't vote at this
Right.
point in time.
Right.
So, that being said, Kathy, once again, thanks very much for
Thank
being here.
you.
Good luck in the election.
Thank you.
And this is Chris Ball from Mashpee TV with another Mashpee update, and we're signing off for today. And we will see you next time. Thank you.